Okay, Scott Brubaker here with Royal LePage in Mississauga, and I've got Chris Keller here with me here. He's the team lead at Chris Keller, her team in Collingwood with Royal LePage. And Chris, can I ask you to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself and kind of what you do up there?
Well, I started this team about 3.5 years ago, and I've been in real estate here for about 8.5 years. I actually moved here indirectly from Mississauga. I was born and raised in Mississauga. But we lived overseas for a bit and ended up sort of accidentally settling here and starting the team. So yeah, the team is here with Royal LePage locations north in Collingwood. Our office is in Collingwood. But of course, we service the entire region, being South Georgian Bay, with a bunch of municipalities that I'm sure we'll talk about during this interview.
Right. Cool. Excellent. Awesome. Recently, Royal LePage did a boomer trend survey and found that 50% of the boomers located, across Canada are thinking about downsizing, and especially the ones in the bigger cities are finding housing unaffordable for retirement. So they're looking at moving out to the outskirts of the GTA, certainly within an hour or two of drive. And so what would you say to boomers, baby boomers that are thinking about the South Georgian Bay region as far as kind of how the market's doing up there and what's happening in that area these days?
Well, I mean, everyone asks us how the market is, and the reality is we have 4 or 5 different markets right here in Collingwood, which is just a 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer square of South Georgian Bay. And each section of the market is different, and condos by the mountain are different. Now you're in the town of the mountains, which is also Grey County, not Simcoe County. And then you go out to Meaford, you talk about Wasaga Beach, you talk about rural properties, and we can be rural and be, a 5-minute drive into town. Bigger acreages, different subdivisions, right? So we have a nice northern, also rural feel, cottagey, chalet feel, but we also have the hustle and bustle of the city. We're really becoming a Toronto North.
Right.
So, what do I say to them? I mean, it starts with questions. Well, what are you looking for? People have a lot of hopes and dreams as they drive up Airport Road or the 400 to Collingwood and figure out what they want, and lots of them don't really know, the differences in the region and the municipalities, the taxes that are tied to each of those. I mean, many people will tell me, come see me at my chalet in Collingwood. It's by Craiglee Ski Club, which is not in Collingwood or in Simcoe County. It's in Grey County, and it's in town of the mountains. So I find out really what they need, and then I find out what their lifestyle is, right? Because we have a very active lifestyle here. People don't slow down,
right?
And it's social for the activities they're going to be involved in, whether it's physical activities or theater, arts, that sort of stuff. Hiking, biking, getting out on the water, boating. There's tons to do. And then there's also a ton of events. And, we also have wineries and breweries and things like that. So there's just a lot to do socially. So it's the same as coming up to a cottage in Muskoka, except for you generally don't stay at your cottage much.
Right.
And then what convenience do you want? How close do you want to be to hospitals, to shops, restaurants? Do you want to walk places? Do you want to be more private and secluded, privacy, that sort of stuff? Or do you want the conveniences? So there's a lot to ask before people come up here, because people, even if they know the area, it really takes, an expert of the different regions and pockets to help people figure out what they're after when they come up here. So we start with questions.
Right. Okay, cool. Excellent. So can you describe, like according to the survey that was done by Royal LePage, 30% of the boomers are actually looking to purchase a condo when they downsize. When they're getting near to retirement or getting into retirement years. What does Collingwood have in the way of condos for boomers?
Well, what we find is when they do come up looking for condos, they replace condo with apartment.
Okay, right.
And many of our condos are not apartments. In fact, we have very, very few apartments.
Right.
So there may be more townhouse or stack. They might be in a community like Lighthouse Point or Dockside or Rupert's Landing, where you're in a community of townhouses or in a community of stacked things, 3 stories high. We have a limit here in Collingwood of 3 stories.
Okay,
in terms of
right.
building, and you need a variance to go higher than that. So there's very few buildings anywhere here that are higher than the 3 stories.
Right.
So you might have a main floor condo, and then upstairs is a 2-story condo, and you're in a community that has a swimming pool and a marina, tennis
Right.
courts, playgrounds for kids, that sort of stuff. So first of all, we have to get them in the frame of mind of what we have for condos, and we have lots of condos available. They run a little bit differently. People will ask, what do condos include? Do they include cable and utilities? And because they're standalone townhouses,
Right.
in terms of all the services are individual for them in terms of the standalone aspect of it. So we have to let them know the condo fees cover your operating costs, they cover your reserve fund, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
And they might reflect differently in terms of condo fees down there. So yeah, I mean, we have lots of condo opportunities. People love it. They love the idea of being able to lease that condo out to a ski season family for 4 months while they go south.
Right.
Because we do have people that aren't skiers that go south. So there's lots of options in both municipalities, in Grey and Simcoe,
Right.
in South Georgian Bay, from Meaford all the way through to Wasaga and down to Creemore, which is sort of the region of South Georgian Bay. Most of the condos you're going to find is Thornbury, around the Blue Mountain Village, and then here in Collingwood and Collingwood West is what you're
Right.
So
Right.
there's certainly opportunities, but things are changing quick up here, so we'll see what the next 5 years brings.
Right. So for any of the golden years crowd that are thinking about getting equity out of their home by selling in Mississauga and moving up to Collingwood, what kind of price points would you be looking at for purchasing, the different styles of homes? So, it could be a condo, it could be, semi-detached or a detached, but kind of price point wise, kind of where does the prices stand?
I would say 500-600 up to 1.2 would be sort of our range.
Okay.
If you're going to get a big house in Laura Bay and golf course,
Right.
then you might be looking at $1 million. You could get into Blue Shores, another great community which has freehold homes, bungalows, bungalofts, 500 to 800, I would say. That changes very quickly if you're in Blue Shores or if you're on the water in Blue Shores. So getting onto Georgian Bay
Right.
spikes your value big time, or your entry point in terms of dollars. So we would say, I would say 500 to 800K you're looking to spend if you're going to get a nice place up here.
Right.
More if you're right downtown Collingwood, less if you get to the outskirts and things like that.
Right.
So, and then condos could be, I guess you could get, depends on how small you want a condo. You could get one for 400K.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Right. Now, how about in terms of like pricing? Have prices been going up in Collingwood lately, or have you seen price increases, or how is the market?
I think we have to define the word lately,
Okay.
based on, we saw a big spike last year,
Right.
which has tapered off a bit. 2016, we also saw a rise in values, but I think many people would agree we were undervalued for quite some time up here. So you could get, for 300K, you could get a 2,200 square foot house in a nice subdivision with a double car garage, and 50, 55 foot lot. So you could get that for $350, and now that's going to cost you $550. So
Right.
the prices have gone up quite a bit, but I think that was on the heels of them being quite low.
Right.
And now, now we're seeing, 400 to 600 as your entry point, more so the 500 to 600 as your entry point. And because
Right.
of that, it's created a gap in our market. So we have a bit of a gap for the opportunities for whether it's young professionals or boomers.
Right.
They're looking for something a little smaller and more manageable. We have a
Right.
bit of a gap in our market for that right now.
Right. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So in terms of getting around Collingwood, how's the transit? How are things connected within the whole region of the
Of South Georgian Bay. South Georgian Bay is pretty connected. We do have a new transit system. I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago Collingwood started that. We have now transit between the town of Collingwood and the village, as well as out towards Thornbury. We'd love to get it to Meaford soon. It goes to Wasaga. So we have a good link system. They opened up new links just recently. The town's working very much on that because that's also based on labor.
Right.
We have to get labor to our 3 big industries, which is education, healthcare, and of course the service tourism industry.
Right.
So we need staff, and we need them to be able to get around. So we're working on public transit systems. We're looking at the model done in Innisfil, where they have teamed up with Uber to create the public transit system in their town
Right.
in Innisfil, which has been great. So we have the gap in the market for housing, and we also have a transportation issue that we're working on growing
Right.
up here in terms of public transportation. But it hasn't been something that's been a necessity, and it's tough to grow something when you don't have high volume usage.
Right.
There's a lot of overhead. So transportation, I mean, I wouldn't say we see a lot of boomers using the public transportation. We see more of them saddling up in a house downtown Thornbury, downtown Collingwood, or up at the Village of Blue. So many things are walking distance.
Right. Okay. Cool. Awesome. How about healthcare in the South Georgian Bay area? You know, in Mississauga, you know, we have easy access to, you know, top healthcare and hospitals. People moving up there eventually will be looking towards that. How are you guys set up with hospitals?
I mean, I think the Collingwood Hospital is one of the best in the province for sure. You have to think the amount of trauma that goes through that hospital with the sports and athletics and skiing here. Our emergency room is one of the busiest in the province.
Yeah.
So I think we have a great healthcare system for what we have there, and of course we have an enormous amount of support healthcare that goes around the community with physio, with any types of therapy, chiro, massage, and orthopedics, whatever it is. We have a lot of that stuff here in our community, and it's growing very quickly. And we have some world-class doctors that we think are coming here, and with Dr. Koo and Dr. Lisi and these people that are running the hospital, and great surgeons
Sure.
that are doing the surgeries becoming more and more popular, whether it's knees or hips or the replacements, things like that. So we have top of the line stuff, that's for sure. I think it takes people a while to realize we do have that. Collingwood has always run the ROMP program, which is the Rural Ontario Medical Program, which brings doctors from the urban centers out to these rural settings. And because, of course, a doctor, the easiest thing is to make big money and work in Toronto. But they want to spread it out. So we've run that Rural Ontario Medical Program out of here. So because of that, a ton of great doctors come through this town as they find where they're going to be for their practice. So
and I'm sure a lot of them like to boat and ski as well. So that's probably a big draw
into the
for
lifestyle
area for sure, for lifestyle. So how about waterfront properties? What does Collingwood have to offer as far as waterfront for anybody that's maybe a boater, just wants more of a cottage feel to kind of getting out of the GTA?
Well, we have the Georgian Bay waterfront, which is the shoreline all the way from, tiny beaches through Wasaga all the way up to Meaford, Owen Sound, and Tobermory. I mean, that's our waterfront. We don't have a bunch of little lakes here. We do have Lake Eugenia and Lake Brewster that are south of us, west of Creemore, part of South Georgian Bay. That's cottage setting versus this setting where we have much more social activity and such. But I mean, there's lots of opportunities. It's becoming more and more expensive. It's obviously a finite piece of real estate. There's only so many waterfront lots here.
Sure.
And people are recognizing that and how valuable they are. So that's why people select waterfront communities that have marinas like Rupert's Landing or Lighthouse Point. They also use the Cranberry Marina, the Thornbury Marina, the downtown Collingwood Marina to store their boats. So many people don't live on the water. There's a strong recognition. People understand that if you love the water, get on the water. But the reality is you have 2 or 3 good months on the water, and then it's just windy. It's just cold and windy and icy on the water. So a lot of people will choose to go to their water sports versus live at the water. And that may also be a factor of the cost to get on the water, as well as the limited inventory on the water.
What's the price range for waterfront properties?
600 to 4 million or more.
Okay.
I mean, we have a huge range of property sizes and types and stuff like that. So very, very tough to get onto the waterfront for under $1 million, but Collingwood East is still affordable. Craigleith, not so much. And as you get towards Meaford, you can again get under $1 million. But in the heart of Collingwood, Craigleith, Thornbury, the waterfront is quite pricey. And also there's big homes on the waterfront. So you're no longer picking up these little cottages that have been there for decades. Those have been taken down, and we got bigger homes, so it's expensive to get on the waterfront.
Cool. So if somebody's thinking about downsizing and starting a search in Collingwood, it's a Collingwood area, the South Georgian Bay area. It's a big area. Like how would somebody get started?
Call us, really, is how you get started. I mean, it's a big process to figure out all the areas. I mean, we know that education is what's going to give people the best opportunity to make the best decisions up here. So our big thing is letting people know you got to be patient and you got to work with the process. And it's not going to be as quick as knowing your neighborhood in Mississauga, checking what's available, seeing 4 homes and picking one. This is a process. So we usually say, you're gonna have to take your first time out, where we're just going to be a neighborhood concierge, where we're going to go through and show you everything that's happening there, and tell you about each neighborhood and drive you around and show you a couple homes. And that first tour where you see homes and neighborhoods, you're not going to find your place, but you're going to learn about what you really like.
Right.
And you learn about what appeals and what's around it and what feels right. So it usually takes at least 1 or 2 good tours to really get people to say, all right, now I know what I like. When you're sending me listings, now I know what I like. Right.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of that to get them to know. So where to start is do your research, drive through neighborhoods, go to open houses, figure things out. And if you can, connect with a team like mine and find someone that's going to walk you through the process, it's something I think is very necessary. There's a lot to learn about what's in the ground, whether it's sand or shale, if you want to build, where the water is. We're between the mountain and the bay, so we have water. A big portion of Collingwood is a floodplain.
Oh, okay. All right.
Floodplain. So there's lots of information to learn about where the old marshes were, what's built on a wetland, what neighborhoods are, you're not going to build a basement because it's just going to fill with water. So there's a lot to learn. And then what's around, what are the amenities, what are the taxes? Town of the Mountains taxes are very different than Collingwood taxes.
Right.
It's 20% tax difference. Just by, if I could start running in 4 kilometers time, I'd be in a totally different tax bracket in terms of property taxes. So where to start? I think, engage with someone that really knows where they're talking about the area, and be patient. Understand that it might not happen quick. So if you're thinking of selling your house in Mississauga, you might want to come up here early and start the first phase, which is figure out where do you want to be. And then once you have that and then you can look at the listings you might actually purchase at the time that you're selling. So it takes a little bit of education in the onset to build the knowledge you need to make a good choice up here.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it takes a period of time. People are starting to think about it now. They could be, 2, 3, 5 years out, but there's no time like now to start. And I always suggest that people don't sit on their plans. They start to actually think about it and explore, and jump in the car and go for a drive and look around and spend a day up.
And I think that's important that people recognize that about our team, especially, as you're not wasting our time by seeing properties without purchasing. I think it's all part of us not coming to your house in 18 months and you say, we want to sell this because we don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And then we got to find a profit margin in that for them. I think it's really important. And listen, we're 2-3 years with a client is very common for us.
Right. Sure.
Right? They come to town 2-3 times a year. We show them a couple homes, or we sit down and have lunch with them and figure it out. And then when the time comes, they feel very ready. So this isn't a small window of time where come up here, find something, buy a house. I think it's important people connect with us early, start to get, the listings sent to them that are not only the ones for sale, but what has sold, so they can see the market. They can keep the finger on the pulse of what's selling, what's getting for. So then when they see a house that they want to buy, they'll have a good feel for, well, I've seen a bunch online that went for these prices through the portal you sent me. So we always encourage people to give yourself some time, give yourself a year if you can.
Sure. Yeah, give yourself a head start and get going on your plan so that you get what you want in the end. It's really important. So, well, Chris Kelleher, thanks for your time. I appreciate the interview, and anybody that's thinking about making a move up to Collingwood, certainly reach out. And Royal LePage has a great facility for helping each other out to help clients move. And with over 60,000 realtors across Canada and 660 offices, it's a good company for anybody that's thinking about relocating and moving out of the area and moving to another area. So, yeah. So thanks very much, Chris.
We count on our network. Yeah, we count on our network for sure, and we got 5 offices up here. So there's a lot of ways to be serviced through Royal LePage and through our connections. So I appreciate you reaching out to us and doing this interview, and hopefully we can help some of your clients on their way up to make their move to Collingwood, or even just start exploring it. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, good luck up there.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks. Take care.